Well, hello, hello.
Hello.
How are you, Linda?
I'm much better today, thank you.
You do sound a lot better. I should have asked you about that earlier. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
You sound great.
Thank you. Yeah, I sound better. Yeah, I feel much better. So,
You do.
yeah.
Well, how is everyone? I am always laughing because the comment section at the very start is always kind of like a weather report.
I know.
I love to talk about the weather. And Pat, who lives in Winnipeg, said plus 14. It made me laugh because she must have to put plus because it's so often negative. It's cold there. But hello, everyone. I hope you all are doing well. It is day 2 of Rose Garden, and I'm a little outside of my wheelhouse today. I am not really in this seat. But I am Sarah Congdon here at Hoop Sisters, and I normally am doing what Linda does, things like Linda does today. So forgive me if I misspeak or anything. But if you are new around here, go ahead and put a number 1 in the comments. And then if you've been hanging out with us for a while, you've done a few workshops, you kind of know what this is all about, put a 2 in the comments just so we can say hello as we get started here. So what are we going to do today, Linda?
So today what we're going to do is trim up a block. We're going to pin and join a block. We're going to show you how to press the seams. And then I'm going to show you what the back of a completed quilt looks like with all the seams going in their correct direction. So we'll show you that. And then I'm going to show you how to mark and stitch the optional back for your quilt with the roses. I posted that earlier this morning, the rose embroidered backing of the quilt. And
nice.
That's about it.
Well, let me pull these up and see where we're at. So we kind of have our slides here. Hopefully those will help keep me and Linda on task today, and I won't get too off task. So that's what we're doing today, what we just talked about. If you live in Illinois, take advantage of visiting one of these 2 shops to snag Rose Garden. If you are lucky enough to live near them, because they're both awesome, you can snag those there. If you don't, we'll talk through how to order from Hoop Sisters in a little bit. But we're just going to jump into it. Before we do, though, I do want to let you know Nina is standing by. She's ready to help you. Right now she's in the comments, so she's a little busy. But after the live, she would love to help you. She'll answer the phone if you give her a call, or you can shoot her an email right there at nina@hoopsisters.com. Okay, and if you weren't here yesterday, this is Rose Garden. How does Aubrey talk and navigate these things? I know, she's amazing.
She's really good.
Yeah. If you weren't here yesterday, here's a picture of Rose Garden. I think we'll probably show you the front of it live as well. I know Linda has it there. But it's just so pretty. It comes in 2 different sizes, 5-inch and 8-inch. You can see the finished sizes there. So with 5-inch, it's about 30 inches by 35 inches. And the 8-inch blocks are about 48 inches by 56 inches once everything's put together. I told you we'll talk through kind of how to order in a little bit, but it is available on USB or digital download. Both are $45. But wait, don't go order yet, because you can save a little bit if you hang out with us and find out how. Okay, so the back on this one has a little something extra. Yesterday, Linda stitched out a block from the front of it. And it uses that stitch and flip method. So if you didn't see that and you're kind of curious how to do that, you can watch the workshop day 1, and it'll walk you through how to do that. But the back, do you want to talk about the back or say anything before we kind of jump into demo time?
I would like to talk about the back. Would you mind making that solo on the screen so I could see it a little better?
Yes, I can do that.
Thank you. Okay, so the back, this is an optional back. Obviously, you could just put a plain piece of fabric on the back and stitch in the ditch. But this one is going to be an optional embroidery that you can put on the back, or we've also included long arm files. So today I'm going to show you how to mark your fabric for that. And I won't stitch it, but I will. I have some templates and things I can show you how to hoop it and how you're going to stitch it. So we're going to do that today. And the next slide, Sarah, should be... There you go. Here's your embroidery files. Now these files, image on the left, are slightly spread out. They actually will be much closer than that And you can't really tell, if you looked at the picture I posted this morning, you can't really tell the division between the designs. So the picture on the right is what the file looks like. And what you will do is stitch them in rows and columns. And I will talk about that in a minute, how we'll do that. And then the next slide, there's also long arm files. So here's the long arm files. So they look a little different, but they have the same flavor. And these are all the long arm extensions that we have, which are your most common long arm files. So you can do that as well, should you happen to have a long arm, or if you have a long armor that you work with, you can give them the file to stitch it.
Okay, so I think, oh, I don't want to go that far. See, this is why I said I'm a little outside of my wheelhouse. I think now, Linda, we'll jump to you and you can talk through, we were going to do trimming, pinning, and joining today.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to talk a little more about the back. So if you want to get that started,
Yep.
You want me to pull you up so you're solo right there.
So here's a block that I stitched. It's the exact, that's the one with the feathers. You see the feather quilting. So I stitched the second one. And we're going to use the Trimmer by George. This is the Trimmer by George. And it has a metal crimped edge. I'm getting a little feedback, but I don't know why. Let's see here. I can make it. Can you hear me, Sarah?
I can still hear you, yeah.
Okay. Is the feedback any better?
I think it's a little better. If you guys will let us know in the comments, because where I'm at, I'm not hearing a ton of it, but I have seen a couple comments that say that.
Okay.
I think that might be better.
So here we go. We've got the metal crimped edge. And what we want to do with this is we want to take our finished block, pull back the face of the block, and expose the battleizer. And by the way, this is Frankenbat, so I'll talk about that in a minute. I use some Frankenbatting to get extra battleizer from my block. So I pull back the face of the block, and I put the trimmer down with the metal edge facing straight on top of the battleizer, and I give it a little shimmy and lay it down. And you can see there's no fabric right there. So I'm going to give my battleizer a gentle tug just to get it really close up to that basting stitch. And we do need to use a 60mm rotary cutter to use the Trimmer by George, because that metal edge raises the ruler up quite a bit. And you need to have the 60mm to clear this trimmer. So I'm going to just run that rotary cutter right along the metal edge. And this block is going to end up in the middle of my quilt. So I do want to trim all 4 edges of the battleizer away. So I'm going to do all 4 edges like this. So again, I shimmy it. I give it a gentle tug. I make sure I have no fabric sticking out right here. And then I take my rotary cutter and I just run it straight along the trimmer, all 4 sides.
Linda, are you hearing any feedback on your end right now?
I turn my volume down a lot, so I don't hear it.
I don't hear it either, but I just see a couple comments that said they still have a little echo.
Yeah, I don't know why, because I have the sound turned completely off on my laptop.
Yeah.
1 second, let me try something.
Okay, and a couple of people are saying that they don't hear it either. So if you are hearing it, maybe just close out and come back in, or refresh your browser that you're in, because we are not hearing it on our end, and we're kind of getting mixed feedback.
Okay. You're not talking to me, you're talking to people, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. Don't leave, Linda. I don't want you to leave either, but yeah.
We'll keep going with the trimmer. So Now let's say this block is actually where my binding's going to go. Just for an example, it's not, but let's just say it is. I don't want to trim the battleizer away if I'm going to have binding on this side. I need to keep that battleizer in the seam allowance of the binding so it has some substance. So what I like to do for that is to turn it over. I'm going to turn my trimmer over, by the way. The metal edge was facing this way when I was trimming the edge of the block. And when I want to trim the 1/4 inch, I'm going to turn my trimmer over with the metal edge facing up. And then I will put that 1/4 inch line on my trimmer right on the basting stitch. And this way I have a little bit of battleizer in my, right here, in my binding edge. Now on the other side of the block, I've trimmed away all the battleizer on all 4 sides. On the other side of the block, I turn it over and I'm going to trim it a 1/4 inch on the other 3 sides with my trimmer metal edge facing up. So there we have your block. So we've got this edge, these edges we're going to stitch to another seam, and this edge will be like a binding edge. So that's how you use your, and this is our feather block, that's how you use your Trimmer by George. So now we're ready to pin them together. I'm going to try to turn my sound up a little, Sarah, and see if we get the feedback again.
Okay.
Okay, anybody getting feedback now? Hopefully not. Okay, so we're going to sew these 2 blocks together. So what we do is we put them right sides together. And we're going to pin our match points. Now these, I'm getting a little feedback again. I'll turn it back down. All right, so we have a match point in the middle right here because it's got to match up with this one. And then we have the 2 ends. So to pin our match points, we take a nice sharp pin and I'm going to put it right through the block. The pin's coming out right here, right where that seam is, and right through the block in the next block in the same place. Give it a pinch. And then we take a second pin and we put it in. Then on the corner, we do the same thing. I'm going to put a pin right in the corner. Make sure it comes out right in the corner right there. Come across to the next block in the same location. Pinch it. Take a second pin and put it in. Same thing on this corner. Pinch it. Now this is an 8-inch block, so it's a little bit bigger than the one I did yesterday. So I am going to put another pin in between these 2 because it's just a long distance for it to go without a pin, using the same method. So a pin will go right in on the basting line, come straight across to the opposite basting line, and then pin it. So there's my pin block. I'm going to go over to the sewing machine and stitch it. I'm going to stitch it in black so you guys can see, but I wouldn't recommend you do it in black. You should do it in like a white or something that'll match.
Okay, so while Linda does that, do you care if I talk about a couple things, Linda?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so while she does that, I do want to let you guys know, I checked right before the live. There are a very, very, very limited supply of fabric kits. So if you want one, your best chance to snag it would be very soon. It has this beautiful, really large print in it with roses, and it's just so, so pretty. So again, extremely limited supply of those left. You guys snagged most of those yesterday. I'm just trying to read comments while I chat with you two. And then while she's still stitching, I want to talk about workshop pricing. So if you're curious how to snag Rose Garden at the best price, that would be right now during our workshop. So everything that I'm about to talk about, it expires at the end of the day today. So midnight today, 11:59 p.m. today, these prices will expire. But if you go to the new arrivals tab on our website, hoopsisters.com, and you add 2 items from that category to your website, it does 2 really cool things. It unlocks 10% off of those 2 items. There are some exclusions. We'll talk about those in a second. And it also unlocks the bonus for you. And the bonus is that feathered quilting block that you guys just saw her do her demonstration with. So the actual design files have that gorgeous rose quilting, but the bonus is going to have that feathered quilting. So you get 2 different options there. And then also you can unlock free shipping if your subtotal reaches $149. And that's after the 10% discount on everything. And it is just for the contiguous US. Again, these all expire at end of day today, and the 10% off does exclude wool, strip stick, and the thread. So monopoly invisible thread and vanish light water soluble thread. You want me to send it back to you, Linda?
Yeah. How's the feedback now, people? Is it better? Let us know in the comments, because I think I know what I did. I know what I did. I know what I did. Hopefully it's better. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about, this is my Frankenbat, and I whipped this up this morning, and I did it in black again, just so you could see what it looks like. Oh, good, they're saying it's fine.
Yeah, good.
I had my phone on, Sarah, on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
So that's what it was, dummy.
Whoops. I've done that before.
Yeah. So what I like to do with my scraps of battleizer when I get some good sized chunks is I cut them 2 straight edges, and I do like a multiple step zigzag right here. And I usually do it in white or cream, something that blends with my battleizer. And then you got a nice big chunk that you can reuse, because this stuff is a little bit pricey and I hate to just throw it away. And that's what you see on the edge here. I've got a little bit of that. So here's my block all stitched. Look at that beautiful match in the seam. And now we're going to talk about pressing it. So we like to use, we keep talking to you guys about the strip stick. This is a long strip of wood that's flat on the bottom. I'm assuming it's wood, curved on the top, and it's got a little padded cover over it. And what I'd love to use this for is to press the seams, because I don't want to flatten out my wool that's inside my block. So I will place my seam right over that stick, and I'll give it just a little squirt of, I like to use the Mary Ellen's Best Press. And I've got my iron on nuclear fusion, because I like it to go as hot as possible.
That's right.
Got to get it done, right?
Yeah.
And
Hey,
since it's, yeah, question?
while you're doing that, I was just going to ask Nina, I think she beat me to it. She saw a couple comments asking where to shop. She's putting the shopping link in the comments, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook.
Great. So then you can put your iron directly on your block. And because this is rounded right here, you only get a little bit of that iron touching the actual seam. It's not flattening out your block. So look how beautiful that seam is. It's nice and flat, and nice and flat on that side. And then I like to turn it over just a little bit. And I do press the front, but I don't lay the iron on it. I just sort of hover it just to kind of flatten it out, but I'm not letting the full weight of the iron on it. And there we go.
Beautiful.
I'm not pressing. I see Kimberly has, let's see. She wants to know if I'm pressing the seam up or open. I am pressing the seam over to one side. I'm not pressing it open. I think I would like to go and take them. Let's take me off here, Sarah. Actually, I'll just do this. I'm going to take you over to my wall over here where my quilt is. There we go.
Sorry, I did that a little premature and didn't tell you.
That's okay. So here is the back of the 5-inch quilt. And maybe I'll bring you a little bit closer so you can see. Hopefully you can see that. It's so hard to find the, there it is. So these seams are pressed down. This whole row is pressed down. You'll be able to look, if you look closely, I try to press everything opposing each other. And so I do press them to one side. It's too difficult and too much thickness to try to open your seams. So I really like to press it to one side. And I like to use a little bit of the best press because that way it just seems to nail it down really well. And a really hot iron works well too. Okay, so you want to talk about the back?
Yeah, let's do it.
Got to bring you back over here. I'm going to bring my camera up.
There you go.
Okay, thank you. So I just have a little mock-up of the back. There are instructions in your design on how to do it. But basically, let me rearrange a few things.
And while Linda's getting set up, I do want to let you guys know all of your questions in the comments. We are starring, and we will get to as many of those as possible toward the end, a little bit more after her demonstration. So hang tight. I see those and we'll answer them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Carla Peters said, this quilt makes me happy.
That's pretty. So pretty. I think I'm going to try to lower my camera so you can see a little better.
Okay.
Somebody wants to know what kind of iron I'm using. It's a really old Alicio. It's pink. I've had it for years. It still works. So I don't know. It's a little difficult to see, but what I have here is I have a blue line marked in a grid. It's marked in a grid pattern. Can you see that at all?
Yeah, I can see it well.
You can see it. Great.
Yes.
Okay, good. So on your instructions, it does tell us how many columns and how many rows we need to mark your back out. So if you're doing a back on one of your quilts, you need to make your back a tiny bit bigger than your actual quilt, a couple inches on all sides. And then you mark your columns and your rows. And then you have to mark the centers of them all. So I have the measurements right here. So depending on the size you're doing, you would just mark them on the measurements according to the size block you're doing. So if you're doing an 8-inch, you would mark your columns and rows 7 3/4 inches apart. If you're doing a 5-inch, it's 4 3/4 inches apart. So these lines are 4 3/4 inches apart. And then you got to mark the center of them. So I found a cheater way to do that. I figured out the center of 4 3/4. Half of that is 2 3/8. And then I took some blue painter's tape and I made a tape on 2 3/8 in the corner. And then I just lined it up with my 4 3/4 inch line and marked my centers.
So smart.
So these are my, it's just easier than trying to find it.
Yeah.
Rulers everywhere. And then next, by the way, I have my quilt back laying on top of my flannel. This is just my high quality flannel that I talked about yesterday. And then the next thing you want to do is take your hoop. Now you can take a smaller hoop. It depends on your machine. If you have a machine with like a 5x7-ish hoop, whoops, you would hoop that with it being in the center. And you can use the lines on your, let me go grab tape. I forgot to grab tape.
If this doesn't derail you too much, Linda, too, I see a couple questions. They're asking what pen you use to mark on your fabric.
So I'm using a Frixon pen. However, these will sometimes leave white marks on your fabric. So you want to be careful. I'm not going to use this for anything. This is just demo purposes. So I didn't care, like when you iron this off, it might sometimes leave a white line, especially if your fabric is a dark color. So if I would use whatever chalk or pen works with your color of fabric. So I would think like the blue wash away markers would be good because I've never known those to stay on the fabric. Sometimes these Frixons will, but so you got to be a little bit careful with that. See this Frixon pen, when I iron it away, when I iron it, it actually goes away, but sometimes it will leave a white mark. So what you can do to kind of help you hold your hoop in place is you can use a little bit of painter's tape to kind of hold it in place. So I'm lining up the center of my hoop with the center line here. And that's just enough to hold it so that you can slide your underneath ring right under there and pop it into your hoop. So that's one way to do it. You could even do it with a larger hoop. So if you have a larger hoop, you could do, if you could get like 4 or more in a hoop, go ahead and get that on and get that hooped. And then you could sew 4 of them at one time. Now this is the 5-inch size, so you'd have to have a really big hoop to do the 8 that way. But this is a great way to do it. So the idea is, and you do not need to make these templates. I printed up a whole bunch of templates of the design. And you can see that little up arrow there. This is the top of the design up here. And what I like to do on my quilt back before I get started, I like to write top. Because if I don't get this all done in one day, I'll know exactly where the top of my quilt is. So this first row, my arrows, my designs are going to be facing up as I stitch them. So I would hoop it, stitch it, hoop it, stitch it, hoop it, stitch it. All these designs are facing that way. And then on the second row, I would rotate the design completely the other direction.
Smart.
And that way they don't line up with each other. If I tried to get them all this way, I'd have a row of roses. So I like my roses to be like a toss. So they're kind of going like this. So what you can do on your fabric is you can mark an arrow up, 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 and then the second row you can mark your arrow down. And if you mark your entire piece of fabric before you start, it'll be really easy to just pick it up if you don't get it all done in one day. It'll be really easy to just pick it up and know exactly what you have to do because you've pre-marked all your fabrics. Does anyone have any questions about that?
We do. Well, we have a few really nice comments about this edge to edge method too. Cindy said she's done edge to edge, but not quite this way. And she likes this way much better.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. It's always nice to see the demonstration because it helps you understand it a little bit better. Let me look through some of, do you know the color of the fabric that you're using on your backing right now? That was
so this is a Moda thatched. And it's, I don't know exactly the color. I could find out and get back to you. But this is a Moda thatched.
I like that thatched fabric.
It's just a real pretty little tone on tone kind of print.
I don't see many edge to edge specific questions. I did tag some questions. So do you answer this question I'm going to pop up on here right now?
Yes, I'm rotating. Oh, the feather pattern. The
Mhm.
feather pattern I did not pull out of the design specifically to use as an edge to edge. It's the block. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So here's the feather block. This is done without any piecing. If you have software for your machine, you can open this design up and pull that out if you want to do it, but it would be the feather. I don't think you'd have to rotate now that I look at it, because it's the same when you rotate it.
So you're thinking you could use that as an edge to edge.
Sure. Yeah. But you wouldn't have to rotate it. I rotated the roses so that they wouldn't, I want them to just look completely
Yeah.
like there's no lines in between. Let me show you the back a little bit closer up. So you really can't tell. You don't see lines in between them.
Not at all.
And it just fills it up really pretty.
Not at all.
So I guess we could go and put it on the back of the quilt. You want to go do that?
Yeah, let's go do that.
All right.
I'm going to show them while you're moving that. I was just going to show you guys what we were kind of just talking about with the feather there. And there were a few other questions to answer too. This is the bonus. So when you add 2 or more items to your cart from the new arrival tab on our website, it excludes a few things, but if you add 2 or more items to your cart, you can unlock this bonus. It will pop in your cart automatically for free. It is a downloadable item that you'll have to download from your account. And then a couple other questions while I have you guys here. Andrea was asking, do you have to do the discount to get the long arm ETE quilting files, or can you buy later and still get the ETE? And Linda, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe those long arm files are included.
They're included. Yep. If you buy the Rose Garden quilt, you will have the embroidery and the long arm files in it.
Awesome. Okay. I'm going to find you, put you up there. Okay.
Okay. There, we can see my whole quilt. Here's my back, completely embroidered. I did cut it out and I left about a 2-inch border all the way around. I didn't want to cut it right to the edge because this embroidery is pretty much exactly the same size as the front of the quilt. So I usually do this on a table, but it's a little hard to show you guys when I'm on a table. So I have it pinned up on my wall. And then what I'll do is sort of fold this over where the top edge of my stitching is and line that up to my quilt. And I'll pin it. I'm pinning it to the wall. And I can feel under this, oh my gosh, it's snowing.
It was 60 degrees yesterday.
Yeah, no kidding. No wonder I'm sick.
Yeah.
So I can feel under here. This is the edge of my embroidery. I can feel the edge of my quilt. So I can kind of tell where I'm at. And on the sides, the same thing. I can see I'm just nicely centered. So I'll get that all pinned down and then I'll put a few safety pins in here. And then I'll take it to the sewing machine, and in the ditch of my seams, I will do a serpentine stitch.
It's so simple.
It is so simple.
I could do that.
You did
I've
do
never
that.
done it, but I could.
I'm going to go get the serpentine stitch just to show you.
Okay. Okay.
Except I just realized, oh my gosh, it's really snowing. This is crazy. I didn't do serpentine stitch on this one. I did straight stitch.
Oh.
So I did it right in the ditch of the seams. And then on the back, you can kind of see the straight stitches. See that? That's all it was, just stitched in the ditch. And I did use a monopoly thread in the needle and also the bobbin. And someone asked yesterday about the stitching going through the design. It does go through the design, but you don't really see it.
Mm-hmm.
It shows up well there because of the lighting.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think the serpentine even blends in a little bit more sometimes.
sometimes, but you know, I had this nice puff going on and I didn't want to smush it.
Yeah.
That's a technical term.
Smush.
Smushing.
Is nuclear fusion a technical term for your iron setting?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Oh, someone also asked yesterday about what it would look like without wool. So this block has wool in it. You can see the beautiful texture. This is a sample block with no wool. So there's quite a bit of difference.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, this is lighter. So if that's what you want, it still looks beautiful. Just a matter of what you want to do.
Do you have an example there of something with a serpentine stitch? Sharon was asking, what is a serpentine stitch?
Hold on, I'll find something.
Okay. I'm gonna pop this up here. This is the question we'll answer. I see a couple other people asking the same question. What in the world is a serpentine stitch? And Pat over on YouTube likes it with the wool. It does look really nice with wool.
I'm just going to stitch a really quick serpentine because I can't find it.
Okay, so just hang with us for one moment. She's going to get a serpentine stitch on some fabric so that you guys can see what that looks like if you're not familiar. And then we will get to answering some questions. And while she does that, I'm going to pop this up on screen. So I had mentioned that there were a few items that were excluded. Let me go back to the screen. A few items that were excluded from saving 10% or yeah, just the saving 10% right there. If you look at this screen, this will show you your must-have tools. So everything on the top line of this screen is included, as well as the designs and things that you'll find in there. Everything on the bottom line is excluded from those promotions. So the top line, those are all Hoop Sisters products. So you have the Battleizer, which is your batting and stabilizer combination. You have your Hoop Scissors Mini, which is great for trimming in the hoop, as well as your hoop scissors with the regular size. That's probably what Linda used yesterday, in fact. And then you have the Trimmer by George that Linda showed you and demoed today. And then on the bottom line are your threads. So monopoly thread is an invisible thread that's going to be used kind of in your assembly process. So when you're adding that backing on to the front of the quilt and you're using either the serpentine or the straight stitch, that's what you're using is that monopoly thread. In the center is your Vanish Light thread. That's water soluble thread. And then on the right hand side is your strip stick, which you also saw in Linda's demonstration today. So just keep that in mind when you're adding things to your cart. All those promotions are automatic. So if you added two things and you didn't get 10% off, it's likely because you added one of those excluded items to your cart. I think she's ready. You ready? Okay.
Here's a serpentine stitch. So it's just little stitches that go back and forth. Typically, most machines will have this. And usually we stitch it right in the ditch. And it does hide, like Sarah was saying, really well. On this quilt, you can do it straight stitch or serpentine. I did straight stitch. But most of the time we do serpentine. And I could not find a sample with it on there.
Do you know what I like about serpentine stitches?
What?
It's a challenge for me to stitch straight sometimes. So the serpentine stitch is a lot more forgiving when you're stitching.
It sure is. It sure is.
Okay. Do you want to head over to the starred questions, Linda? Do you want to
Yeah.
answer some of those? And you know what? Before you do,
Mm-hmm.
I saw Linda Russell said, is there a giveaway today? There is a giveaway today. It is keyword backing. So this up on here for one moment while you get in those comments I starred and see if there are some that you'd like to answer. So comment backing and you're entered to win store credit today.
All right, so some questions. So Andrea wants to know, because it's a long arm design, can you make it any size quilting with it? Pretty much. That's what most long arm files are, and this one as well. You can size it to whatever you need. And you might answer this one.
How long do we have to place our order to get the free block? So to get that free block with the feathered quilting, that's our bonus block, you have until end of day today. So midnight tonight. And then the promotions expire.
So Sue says, is the backing embroidery stitching several roses at a time in an edge-to-edge manner, or are you placing each rose? So let me grab that little template. This is the design. So it's stitching 3 of them. So you'll hoop it, stitch it, hoop it, stitch it. You can see that's what I did here. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3, and all the way across. So that's the first row. The second row, I rotate it. So instead of going this way, it now goes this way. And it will go 1 all the way across. And then the third row, I rotate it back to the original position and go all the way across. So hopefully that answers your question. Did I do the whole back constantly moving the hoop or in pieces? So I think I just answered that question. We do not offer thread kits, Alice. Who knows? Maybe that could happen one day, but right now, not.
Never say never, right?
Never say never. And Pat says, all kinds of good tips today. This is why I watch the live workshops. Thank you, Pat. And Cindy is very excited to try the new method for backing on her Hoop Sisters quilts. And Donna says, can't wait to see the fabric in person. My order was shipped yesterday within an hour of ordering. No, those girls are amazing, aren't they?
They're fast.
So Karen and Therese, and after school, Reese comes in. They work their buns off. They do a great job.
I do want to say, I see a couple comments. Fabric kits are sold out, just so that you know. Fabric kits are gone.
Wow.
So gorgeous fabrics.
I will tell you, when I ordered the fabric, I ordered every inch they had.
Did you?
and that's, we can only get so many kits out of that. So
yeah,
I love it. I love this fabric. Oh, Sue, this is such a good question, because I don't think I said this. As you sew these blocks, it's so important to put a number on the block as to what it is. It's so important. Like, this is main block, whatever. I think this one's 3. So just you could put it up here in the seam allowance. You could write it on the back. You girls in Ohio stitched mine for me, and you put it on the back. And it's so important, because it's like a puzzle when you get them all done. And if you have to try to figure out which each one is and how it goes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so thank you for that reminder, because I forgot to say that. So Marion wants to know, can we use some of the feather blocks as well as the rose blocks in the quilt top? I think you could, if that's what you want to do. It's your quilt. Go for it. Elizabeth wants to know how to get the bonus. You want to explain that one again?
Yeah, so you can snag the bonus by adding 2 or more items from the new arrivals tab on our website. So at hoopsisters.com, new arrivals tab, add 2 or more of the included items. I had just a little bit ago talked about some of those exclusions. It's essentially the threads and the strip stick. But once you add those 2 items that are included in the promotion to your cart, that bonus automatically populates in your cart for free.
Great. Okay, Sharon wants to know the name of the rose fabric. And I believe it's Texas Rose. It's poppy cotton fabric. And this is the white version. Now, I think I got to explain something to DV. She says it looks like the feather quilting has no matching points. I think you might be talking about this one. This one is just the quilting. It's not the piecing. It does have match points because this is your block. Does that make sense? This one I just stitched. I was test stitching the quilting. So there's no block that looks like this. This is just the quilting. But yeah, you'll have match points throughout the whole quilt. Okay.
Sorry, I'm still clicking comments and adding them in there, so it might be throwing you off.
They're probably at the end then. Donna wants to know any suggestions for different fabric to use, a large print. You know, the quilt shops have such beautiful fabrics. Go find your favorite fabric because you only need the print and 2 other solids. So find something you love. Like I found this beautiful rose print, and then we added the white and the green to go with it. So it shouldn't be too hard. Ellen, would it be difficult to make the quilt larger? This one is a little bit weird in that you can't just add more rows. You'd have to do a little thinking because the border, the border on some of it is part of those diamond shapes, those trellis type shapes. So you'd have to do a little bit of thinking. And I have to be honest, I didn't go that far. You'd have to, so that the pattern works out, because I have three whole, do you see these diamond shaped printed fabrics? I have 3 across, 3 across, 3 across. And if you add just 1 row, you're not going to have that pattern anymore. So you'd have to do a little bit of figuring to figure that out. Dawn wants to know the width of my serpentine stitch. I just picked it on my machine, and I think the default was 5.0. I didn't change it off the default. Okay, Kim is asking me to show again the wool and no wool. So this is just the quilting. It's not the actual block, but there's no wool here. I was just doing a test run on the quilting. There is wool on this. So you can see the feathers just fill out. They're a little bit poofier on the ones with the wool. Here's a good question, because this is on our website, Sarah. Hanging sleeve.
Yeah, so this we've done in previous workshops. So the best place for it probably is YouTube. And Robin, I know you're watching on YouTube. So check out YouTube. I think the most recent hanging sleeve we did was, which this quilt would work really well with.
It would.
It's just done on the machine, no hand sewing required, which I love. But check out Spring Things Day 2 workshop. I believe we did a demonstration there for adding a hanging sleeve.
Right. So when this is a perfect for the no-sew, because you've got this small little border.
Yep.
About a 4-inch border on the bigger quilt, and it's perfect for the no-sew sleeve. Okay, I think that's it, unless you started more.
I see a couple more. Terry was wondering, oh man, another one just came through. Where'd it go? Okay, Terry, when you are making the backing, are you making a sandwich with batting?
So I'm not making a sandwich because there's only 2 layers. I'm making a layer of wool, not wool, a layer of flannel and the backing. That's it. That's all there is.
Okay.
This is flannel. And there's my backing fabric.
All righty. I'm just trying to read comments. Carolyn said, did you use wool on the top and battleizer on the bottom? I don't know. If you can be a little more specific with your question, or maybe Linda understands that. But there's no wool or battleizer included in the backing, like she had just said. It's in the blocks themselves.
So the blocks for the front, you hoop the battleizer. You can add the optional wool. That's the front of the quilt. The back of the quilt is flannel and fabric.
Mm-hmm. And wool and battleizer, by the way, are not the same things. Do you want to talk about kind of the different purposes between those two?
Yeah, so the wool, here I have a scrap. Do I have a scrap of battleizer? Let me grab that. Here's a scrap of battleizer. It's got a soft, fluffy side on one side. The other side, you can see it looks different. This is the scrim side. So this will feel a little bit rough. This side will be fluffy. And this is what you put in your hoop when you build your block for the front of the quilt. You can add optional a piece of wool, which, as you can see, this is really fluffy. And we cut this we give you directions on how to cut this, so it's the perfect size for your block. And this gets stitched down on top of your battleizer. So if you watched the demo yesterday, I did talk about that a little bit. So these two items are on the front of your quilt, along obviously with your fabrics. And then the back is the flannel.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm going to jump over into slides, if that's okay. If you see questions that you want to answer,
Okay.
Let me take this one off. Okay. So now is when I'm going to, oh, nope, I can't do that. Okay. Maybe I can do this. Now I'm going to invite you to participate. So if you are interested in Rose Garden, now is the best time to get it, because you can still get it while those promotions are active. Again, those expire at the end of the day today. So I encourage you to take advantage of those if you are interested. And again, just recapping workshop pricing, you can save 10% and unlock the bonus with that feathered quilting just by going to our website and adding 2 items from the new arrivals tab to your cart. It does exclude the wool, the strip stick, and the threads, but everything else that's in that category, all the designs, the battleizer, the scissors, the trimmer, those are all included. So add 2 or more to your cart and you can save 10% and unlock the bonus. And if you like free shipping in the contiguous US, you can get that by reaching a subtotal of $149 in your account. Okay, so we had a challenge. I don't know if you guys saw this. And Judy, you were on earlier. I saw your name, so I hope you're still on here. But we did a challenge. It was part of our workbook. So if you registered before registration closed, you got that really cute free block, and you just had to stitch it and post it in our Facebook VIP group. Well, Judy Ford, I saw your block, and you are the winner for the challenge.
Yay.
So make sure, let me find the right banner for this one. Give me a moment. Okay, so Judy, I hope you're still watching, because we need you to contact Nina within 5 days at nina@hoopsisters.com and let her know that you're the challenge winner, and she will get you taken care of with some store credit. So congratulations, Judy. And then I think we're moving on to our giveaway. So if you haven't already, comment backing if you want to enter the giveaway, and we're going to go over and announce our winner. Okay. Patricia Curtis, congratulations, Patricia. You are the winner of $50. I believe it's $50. And if it's not, now it is because I just said that. But $50 of store credit. So again, same thing applies. Go ahead and contact, oh, where did that go? Go ahead and contact Nina within 5 days, Nina@hoopsisters.com, and let her know that you were one of our live viewer giveaway winners on day 2 of Rose Garden. And she'll get you hooked up.
I saw a couple more questions. Do you mind if I answer them, or you want this first?
No, go for it. I think I'm done with most of slides and everything like that. So go for it.
So Mary Ellen asked, so no stabilizer on the backing. No, Mary Ellen, the stabilizer would be considered the flannel. That'll be enough stabilization for your backing. And Karen says, if we use Dream Puff, which is like polyester, it's still Quilter's Dream, but it's puff and it's polyester instead of wool, would we still press the edges of the Dream Puff before tacking it down? Absolutely. I would still press the edges. It presses beautifully. Okay.
Okay. I think we've answered all the questions, Linda. I think we did it. Aubrey wasn't here. It was a little scary a couple times navigating things.
You did wonderful.
We managed, didn't we?
Yes.
Okay. Well, this was really fun. I want to try an edge to edge now because I'll be honest, I've never done it. Now I want to try one of your edge to edge quiltings, though. I don't want to make one. I want to try yours.
Call me. I'll make them for you.
Okay. Because you make it look so easy. It really does look really doable. And I know a lot of people in the comments were excited to give that a try after watching the demonstration today.
Good.
So. All righty. Well, thank you guys so much. Again, if you're interested in Rose Garden, now's the best time to snag it. So go ahead and head to our website if you want to join us and participate in that and get that before those promotions run out. But for now, we'll see you guys next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.